We've been telling you about the U.S. President Donald Trump's plan to, he appears to be forging ahead, rather, with this plan to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital and moving the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. We do expect him to make an announcement on this on Wednesday. Let's put this in perspective and speak to Rami Khouri. He's a professor of journalism at the American University of Beirut and senior fellow at Harvard Kennedy School. And he's joining us, in fact, from Boston. Thanks for joining us on Aljazeera. So we've been playing out some of the international condemnation over this planned declaration by Trump, and certainly there has been Arab condemnation. But beyond the condemnation, Rami Khouri, what can Arab states actually do, and what will they do if Trump goes ahead with this declaration?
What they could do is quite significant, diplomatically, economically, and other ways, strategic relationships being adjusted, if they really wanted to make a statement. What they will do is probably almost none of that, because this has been the great tragedy of the modern Arab world, that Arab leaderships have expressed a lot of rhetoric on issues like Jerusalem, like Palestinian rights, like other issues, but haven't really followed it up with action. And you've got Arab states now, including some of the powerful ones in the Gulf, trying to set up relations with Israel, which the United States is directly trying to promote. So this is the great tragedy. The real deep story here is the ineffective nature of Arab leadership in addressing the challenge of Zionism to the modern Arab world. They haven't been able to make war, they haven't been able to make peace, and this is the consequence: an American president who expresses almost total disdain for the rights of Arabs and Muslims in Jerusalem, for the sentiments of Arabs and Muslims, and for international law. And all you're going to get is declarations, which are already getting about a day of rage and demonstrations in the street. And the United States doesn't particularly care about this.
What about Hamas's position, movements like Hamas? We heard the organization come out and say that the U.S. Jerusalem embassy move would, quote, cross every red line.
Well, movements like Hamas could, or Islamic Jihad or other militant groups like that, could take action by firing some rockets into Israel to make a point. But the problem with that is, historically, over the years, the Israelis have retaliated with massive attacks against civilians, mostly in Gaza and other parts of the Arab world. Lebanon, for many years, they did it. So the destruction that is suffered in the Arab areas is so massive that it probably is disproportionately not worth the symbolic resistance that Hamas puts up. And we may see that again. So it's clear that symbolic military attacks against Israelis, or even individual attacks killing Israelis, has happened in Jerusalem for many months earlier this year and last year. These will not achieve a resolution of the problem. If the political leaderships of the Arab world, starting with the Palestinians, do not muster the collective will of their people and the political, economic, and other rights that they and assets that they have to engage the Israelis, either to make war or to make peace, preferably to make peace that's equitable to both sides. If that's not done, then the Israelis and the Americans, or at least the right-wing Israeli leadership like Netanyahu, and the Americans under the new leadership of Trump, will do whatever they want. You know, the message that Trump is sending us is that the Arab world has become the first dispensable region in the world, that the entire Arab region matters to nobody. What we feel doesn't matter, our rights don't matter, our voices don't count. We used to be invisible people, now we're dispensable, all of us.
For the sake of time, let me just jump in there.
Take Jerusalem.
It's an important point you're making, Rami Khouri, but just for the sake of time, let me ask you this, because we are hearing from American media, at least earlier this week, we heard that Saudi Arabia presented Mahmoud Abbas with parts of the Trump administration's peace plan, and that reportedly included a Palestinian state without Jerusalem as its capital. So is what we're seeing now with the planned declaration by Trump part of that peace plan being put forward by the United States?
I kind of doubt it. I mean, if we are seeing that, then we're all in much worse trouble than even we think we are, because this would be catastrophic. If the United States wants to negotiate with Arabs and Palestinians for an equitable peace agreement with Israel, I think everybody's prepared to do that. But to unilaterally take these kinds of steps that are clearly opposed by virtually the entire world and have been opposed by all American administrations up till now is not the way to do it. The people leading the American so-called negotiations are very structurally linked to the right wing in Israel, the settlements group, people like Jared Kushner and others. So there's a clear problem here in terms of the United States taking actions that are against international law, against the vast majority of the will of the people in the Arab countries, and probably will get away with it. Also, this is according to a poll that just came out in the U.S. by Shibli Telhami at the University of Maryland. 59% of Americans want the U.S. to be even-handed in the Palestine-Israel dispute, and 63% of Americans oppose the U.S. embassy being moved to Jerusalem, and further, 81% of Americans think that American presidential policy in the Middle East should be guided by experts on the region, not by family members or personal lawyers, as Trump is doing now. But I repeat again, the real bottom line here is the incompetence of Arab leaderships.
All right, Rami Khouri, good to have you with us on Al Jazeera. Thank you.